and let us all do we can to build a better future.
AOC. That's right. I did a short live stream over the weekend about how Biden has exceeded progressives' expectations. It was an article from The Guardian, and I think we can all tell from my reaction from that article that it was pretty disappointing. So the thing is, though, I think it's very, very fair for us to actually address this video and look at it firsthand and understand that there are consequences and repercussions. We are live. That there are consequences and repercussions when you make statements like this, because then corporate media will jump on it, from Fox News to MSNBC. So first and foremost, let's play this video. Shout out to the Convo Couch. They actually got like a short segment of this video. It's only 1 minute, 17 seconds. But if I had to sit through it, I think all of you should sit through it too.
The thing that I will say is that I do think that the Biden administration and President Biden has definitely exceeded expectations that progressives had. I'll be frank, I think a lot of us expected a much more conservative administration. And I think that not only what has ultimately come out, but the active invitation and willingness and collaboration with progressives in his first 100 days or almost 100 days has been very impressive. And so while there are there are areas where there are just plain areas of disagreement, I think that the actual conduct of the administration has absolutely been in good faith, but not just in good faith, but active incorporation of progressive legislation, and also for those of us individually. I can at least say that there has been a lot of openness and willingness and flexibility in incorporating many of our goals, requests, demands, etc. And I think that it has been to the benefit of the country.
Okay, so before we pull up that next video, because again, there's consequences when you make statements like this, especially in regards towards saying that Biden has exceeded the expectations of progressives. Corporate media is going to jump on that because, again, what's the narrative that corporate media was selling about Joe Biden? That he's a centrist, that he's pragmatic, that he could build a large coalition and get things done. Well, let's look at the issues that progressives, or the Democrats, were running on during the 2020 presidential election cycle. We were promised a $15 minimum wage increase. That was given a thumbs down by Kristen Sinema and good old Joe Manchin, both Democratic senators. Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, was once again reinstated by the 15 congressmen and women that were on the Force the Vote petition, who did not even attend the Force the Vote Medicare for All town hall, where 100,000 people attended, even though all those congressmen and women who were on the Force the Vote petition ran on Medicare for All. Oh, Nancy Pelosi's writing a book, basically, or having someone write a book for her that's basically smearing and bad-mouthing the squad, even though you have Representative Ilhan Omar calling her auntie and AOC calling her mama bear. Oh, wait, we didn't get our $2,000 stimulus check. We still have medical debt. We still have student debt. We don't have affordable college. We have a prison industrial complex. The kids are still in cages. We're stuck in regime change wars. And while there are some people saying that we are getting out of Afghanistan, we still have private contractors in Afghanistan. So we're not effectively leaving anywhere. We're not doing anything about climate change. Big fossil fuel industries, the big banks, corporations still have the final say with our politicians. Money is still in politics. So the thing is, how did our expectations get exceeded? I mean, was the bar so low? I mean, what? He's not doing mean tweets like Trump is? Because so far, nothing has fundamentally changed. And just a quick side note, 30 to 40 million Americans are still at risk of being evicted from their homes and apartments as we speak. Small business owners are still struggling. And yet, there is still no talk about another stimulus check, maybe doing a UBI program. We're not getting anything at all. And how can AOC forget that fantastic task force that the Bernie Sanders campaign and Biden campaign worked together on? Didn't Bernie get all of his issues that he wanted? Oh, wait, no, he didn't. In fact, let's have democracy in the live stream chat. Type 1 if Biden has exceeded your expectations. Type 2 if you know way better than what these politicians are talking about, because so far, nothing has been met. And I don't want to hear excuses of having a slim majority in the House and Senate, because on the pathway that the Democrats are going on, it's quite clear that this midterm election cycle could potentially be a slaughter. It all depends on one key thing: voter turnout. And I hope that the Democrats, especially progressives who are cheerleading on Joe Biden, understand this one simple fact. Midterms statistically have a low voter turnout. Now, let's play this other video from Case Study QB. Be sure to follow him on Twitter. He's doing fantastic work. Again, when you make a statement saying that Biden has exceeded progressives' expectations, corporate media will jump on it. Here's Fox News. Let's play it.
Yeah, you got to sort of, you got to kind of step back and wonder if AOC is sitting here saying that she's surprised by how progressive Joe Biden is, then you're probably well ensconced on top of the left-wing crazy train. But for those of us who've been covering Joe Biden for 20 years now, this is very surprising. And when he talks about whether it's infrastructure or he's talking about this crazy Green New Deal or any of these, his open border policies, all of this stuff, it comes as kind of a surprise if you stop and think about it, because it's so different from what we've heard from this guy for so long. And when he talks about, like, say, systemic racism, now the country is beset by this, well, if he's talking about the country for the past 20 years, he's talking about himself. He himself has been a bigger part of the system than I think anybody else in Washington today. So it's very strange.
Okay, Harold, I'm going to get to a piece by Michael Goodwin in a moment here. It's a long graph, and I want to read it for our audience. Harold, what do you think? AOC is happy so far? So far?
Well, first off, good morning. Thanks for having me on. I think we can look at it a different way also. Maybe the Congresswoman has come around to be more moderate. Let's put it in perspective. The COVID relief package of $1.9 trillion, the president was able to get through with only Democratic votes. The country elected him to get a better vaccine distribution, and he's done that. He sided with President Trump on Afghanistan and China. And as we move forward now to infrastructure and police accountability and immigration, I think that's where the test will come. It's important to also point out that Congresswoman, the AOC, she laid out, right, but AOC laid out they wanted $10 trillion, and President Biden has not budged on that, nor has he budged on any of their health care ideas. I think this is a sign that maybe we can find some bipartisanship here on these next three issues. Wow. I would love to have seen bipartisanship on the COVID relief package. I would love to have seen bipartisanship on perhaps one other matter. But as we move forward on infrastructure, police accountability, and immigration, you're going to have bipartisanship to get anything done.
Harold, you might have the headline of the day: AOC's become more moderate. Watch that.
Okay. First of all, their smug attitude is downright gross. And let's be very clear. What have progressives gotten? We haven't gotten our $15 minimum wage increase. It should be $25, $30, $40. Let's raise it up. We're not getting continuous UBI. And AOC ran as a firebrand. And I understand, hey, look, you got to make allies. You got to work in the system or whatever. But my goodness, she has 12 million followers on Twitter, a large social media following. You can actually be the change and inspire more people to run for office instead of trying to work and worm your way in the system. Inspire others. You have an army. You have a legion. Plus, to those other 14 congressmen and women that are on the Force the Vote petition, Senator Bernie Sanders, Senator Elizabeth Warren, you have an army. You have progressive volunteers and followers. That means you got to shake things up. Because for some reason, Senator Joe Manchin can get whatever the hell he wants. And at the end of the day, us progressives who voted for you, who did phone banks for you, who did activism for you, we're not getting anything. People are still struggling. People are still starving. People are still hurting. And the very fact right now that you are stating that he has exceeded our expectations is a slap in the face for everyone. But hold on. What do the Justice Democrats think about all of this? Let's play this video from MSNBC and see one of the leaders of the Justice Democrats talk about this.
He's spokesperson for Justice Democrats. Hey, Waleed, Biden pushed through a $1.9 trillion COVID relief package, zero Republican support. He's now eyeing bold change in the form of infrastructure. What in that plan do you see as a win, and where do you want to see it go even farther?
Well, right now we're at a stage where progressives have won an argument in the Democratic Party over the role of government and a large argument over how to solve America's biggest problems, but not necessarily the specific solutions. And so getting major climate provisions into the infrastructure bill is a huge, significant achievement for the progressive movement that had an entirely separate climate bill in the Obama administration that failed. And so on the one hand, there is huge successes of the progressive movement on getting the climate provisions in there. But we still want to see Joe Biden go bigger on the Civilian Conservation Corps that Senator Markey and Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez proposed last week that would create 1.5 million jobs and good paying jobs that would address our climate resiliency efforts and move us toward 100% green energy over the course of the next 10 years. Joe Biden's current proposal for that is, doesn't even solve the current backlog of maintenance necessary in national parks. But, it's good that these issues are being included in the bill, but now we're getting into, where the devil is in the details.
We've seen high marks for the president. You look at the polling that I was talking about earlier when it comes to things like handling of the pandemic. When you look at issues like gun safety or immigration, there's less support. And what I would say looking at that is, to me, in some ways, that shows the limits of polling, right? That in that group of people who are dissatisfied is people who sort of see those issues incredibly differently, right? So if you are this administration and you are reading that polling, what should be your takeaway?
I think the takeaway is that the Republicans are going 100 miles per hour on guns and immigration, and Democrats are going a steady 15 miles per hour on those issues. And so if you want polling to increase on gun violence and on immigration, two issues that Joe Biden has pledged to solve in his first term that do need to...
Okay. So again, right now, so many mental gymnastics are being done, because let's look at that $1 trillion package, especially for that relief package. I mean, what are we really getting? $2 trillion? And now there's talk about the Republicans wanting to lower it even more. We need, at the bare minimum, $10 trillion to rebuild our infrastructure. We have a crumbling system right now. Our system is antiquated. And look, just on a personal note, when I went to visit Japan way back in January of 2020, I saw their transportation infrastructure. It blows our CTA system here in Chicago out of the water. And other countries have been investing into their infrastructure and to updating their systems and actually giving high-speed internet accessibility to their civilians. We're getting nothing. And yet, what? We want to cheerlead that one of our progressives got in? On one side, yeah, that's great. I'm so happy that they're in there. But on the other side, what are they doing? Nothing's being done for us. We're hurting still. We're starving still. People are at risk of losing everything still. Nothing has fundamentally changed, and yet there are people that are shielding Joe Biden, who's one of the main architects to this neoliberal economic system that we're in. This isn't a joke anymore. And I'm tired of the excuses. Tell us what we have to do to fight, because if the Democrats go into the midterm election cycle, and I want to give a shout out to actually Popeye, who actually said this in the live stream chat, shout out to one of our viewers, maybe the Democrats are just walking into the midterm election cycle hoping to lose and be like, oh, well, but we'll do it next time in 2024 when the presidential election cycle happens, and who knows how that's going to turn out. The Democrats, especially the progressive Democrats, those that were associated with the Justice Democrats or DSA or Brand New Congress or Our Revolution, they have what it takes, but you got to show us what to do. But people like Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Joe Biden don't respect you. You have the voting bloc. You could use just as much power as Joe Manchin's doing, but you're choosing not to. Let's play the rest of the next video.
Solved. People, millions of people are waiting for immigration relief, have been waiting for decades. And the gun violence, as we saw in the past few weeks, is not going away. And so Democrats, once those bills become a priority, they do need to turn up the heat and make the case to the American people so that the only thing that Americans aren't hearing is not simply Fox News' talking points about guns and immigration, but also the Democratic talking points on those issues.
Right. I look at those numbers and I see that people are not happy with the status quo. I do want to ask you, we're going to be hearing from Congressman Jamal Bowman on Wednesday night, your sense of what we're going to hear from him.
Congressman Jamal Bowman is a Justice Democrat, someone we recruited. I think that he's going to give a strong case for the administration to center racial and economic justice in the next 100 days. You know, after the hearing that happened in Minneapolis, we're still waiting for a racial justice, criminal justice, police reform agenda to be enacted in this country. And we're still waiting for major efforts to be done on the issue of economic inequality. And those are the two issues that got Jamal Bowman elected in his district. So I anticipate hearing about those.
All right, Waleed, thanks so much for your time tonight.
All right. So, not much more to take away from that otherwise than just to say, how much longer do we have to wait? We need real change. And the thing is, to those progressives that got into office, you can't forget how you got started or what your election wins meant to a lot of progressive and independent voters. I want to play this last video here. This is a missing persons report, basically. If you know where this AOC is at, please type it in the comment section below, because I don't know. Let's play it.
In what you said earlier, too, I wanted to go back to what you said about our left party. We don't have a left party in the United States. The Democratic Party is not a left party. The Democratic Party is a center or center conservative party. We do not advocate for, we can't even get a floor vote on Medicare for all. Not even
Force
a floor
vote.
vote that gets voted down.
Force the vote, Jimmy Dore's right.
So this is not a left party. There are left members inside the Democratic Party that are working to try to make that shift happen. But you're right, it does convey a certain sentiment about true believers. And there are a lot of true believers in that we can capitalism our way out of poverty in the Democratic Party. If anything, that's probably the majority. Right. And that's an area in which I agree with Dr. King, that assessment is flawed.
All right, so round of applause for that one. That was a hell of an acting. I want to just acknowledge and give the final notes to our wonderful viewers before we end this segment. Let's see what we got here. Calamity 2007, never believe in a politician ever again. Alfarius Omegon says, distant age well. David Mazel says, sellout. Josh Davis says, bro, she's trolling us. Monarch, the oh no, the guy. And then, of course, Scroogle, Scroogle says, this performance is rated And I think really that's the best way we can end this segment. If anyone knows where that AOC is at, who would actually have at least the idea of saying that the Democratic Party is centrist, I'd like to know where she's at, because she's needed. And the American people can't afford the wait. And I don't know what the 2022 midterm election cycle is going to turn out to be like. But if the Democrats are going to be this lackluster, it's going to be a slaughter.